guys, and welcome to our close reading lesson for today. First, we're going to start by going over some goals. Today's goals for you guys are to take notes by adding comments to your text, pay close attention to character action to help you discover character relationships, the problem, the solution, and lesson learned, as well as fill in your thinking job chart. Now, we have been getting lots and lots of practice with each and every one of these things, and I am confident that you can apply these to today's text. Thanks for all the flies. I am excited to dig into this text with you guys because I think it's a really fun story, and it reminds me a little bit of Charlotte's Web, which I know that you got the chance to read in first grade. And it's a story that many of us love and hold dear to our hearts. Now, in order to get started, just like always, we always skim the text for about 40 seconds and think about what our thinking jobs are. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll. If you haven't yet, maybe now you open up your Google Doc and you start scrolling yours as well and following along. Right, based off what you see, your title, maybe your illustration, what genre do you think this text is today? Remember, in order to jot our genre, we go ahead and hold down our trackpad, and we drag our mouse across the title, and then we press this little guy to add a comment. And then we write our thinking job. Make sure you're writing that genre down. Take about 10 more seconds. All right, if you said fiction, you are correct. This is specifically realistic fiction. So I'm going to put an RF for realistic fiction. We know that in realistic fiction stories, there's stories where something can really happen, and it's a story where it could really happen, but it's still a made-up story. So when we look at realistic fiction stories, we look for character, say it with me, motivation, problem, solution, and lesson learned. So we're going to go ahead and jot those down here so it can help us take notes later. All right, and we're done. We just press comment. Now we have our genre and our thinking jobs jotted down for us. Now that we've identified this is a realistic fiction text, we know that the next thing really good readers do is make a prediction. Just based off our title, Thanks for All the Flies, what do you think this story is going to be about? So I think, and then write down what you think is going to happen. Go ahead and pause the video here and write down your prediction. Now that we've written our prediction, we are going to go ahead and get started reading through our text. When we are reading our text today, I really want us to focus on getting better at paying attention to character actions. We know that actions are things that people do. So we're going to take a look at our characters today and look at the actions that they take and use those actions to help us identify different things about the characters and their relationships, as well as the problem, solution, and lesson learned. So make sure you're keeping a lookout and paying attention to that. All right. Keisha never knew a spider until she found one in her bedroom. At first, the spider's web was tiny. Maybe the spider came in through an open window. Or maybe she rode in on Keisha's dad's shoulder. Maybe she sneaked in with her little brother. It didn't matter how she got there. Once she was in Keisha's room, she decided to stay. Keisha's mom told her that the spider was a garden spider. Some spiders can hurt you, said Keisha's mom. Not this one, though. Keisha gave the spider a name. You're Stella, Keisha said. My name is Keisha. Keisha took good care of Stella. When she saw a fly, Keisha could shoo the fly towards Stella's web. Stella caught plenty of food this way. She was very good at hunting. She would stand back until the fly landed, then zip forward very fast. All right. We're going to pause there at paragraph 5. Up to paragraph 5, what have we learned so far? I noticed that we found some different characters in our story. Who are some of the main characters that we saw here? Who seemed the most important? Go ahead and tell your turtle who is the most important one so far in the story. Keisha seems like a very important character. And it seems like this story is mostly about Keisha. So I'm going to add a comment here and put CH for character. Remember, I do that by dragging my mouse over Keisha and then adding my comment. The other character I see that speaks out loud is Keisha's mom. So I'm going to go ahead and add a comment here. Once again, put a CH for character. Now, who is that last and final character that we need to add to our notes? It's not a human, it's a spider, and her name is Stella. So we have Stella the spider, and she is also one of our characters. Now that we've identified our characters, we will sometimes like to think about what we know about them so far. So what are some things I know about them so far? I know that Keisha is a kid. So she is a kid. I know this because she has a room and she's living with her mom. What else do I know about Keisha? Keisha seems to be a little bit curious because she's asking questions about the spider. And I can kind of tell, I think she likes the spider since she gives it a name. Now that I've decided what I know about Keisha, I want you to do the same for Keisha's mom and Stella. What do we know about them so far? Go ahead and add a comment by clicking reply to what you know about these two characters so far. Pause here and go ahead and do that. Strong readers pay really close attention to character actions in order to find out more about the characters. So when I thought about the character traits for Keisha and what I knew about her so far, I looked at some actions to help me decide that. I thought that Keisha likes the spider because an action that she did is give the spider a name. I also could tell that she liked the spider because she tried to put a fly into its web so that it could have food. Those two actions tell me about how she likes the spider. Maybe you use some actions too to help you decide some things about Keisha's mom and Stella the spider. Let's continue to read and see if we can find out even more about these characters in the story. Stella's web got bigger and bigger. It grew and grew. It grew from tiny to small. Then it got a little bigger, and a little bigger, and a little bigger. After a few weeks, Stella's web spread from the corner of the window to the window latch in the center and down to the window sill. Keisha's baby sister liked to watch Stella. So did her little brother. It didn't bother Sheila. She would work on her web. She climbed up and down, spinning thread. Every day the web seemed a little bit bigger. One day, Keisha's brother tried to pet Stella, but Stella was shy. Stella ran up the web all the way to the highest corner of the window. At night, Keisha would lie in bed and look up at Stella. In the light of the moon, the web looked like silver streams stretched across the window. The girl said good night to the spider. She thought that if Stella could talk, she would say good night back. Stella's web kept getting bigger. The web spread across the whole window. One day, the girl's mother came into the room and saw Stella's huge web. By then, it stretched from the window all the way to the floor. The web covered most of the wall. Stella was a small dark spot in the very center. Keisha, said her mother, there is not enough room for you and Stella in here. All right. Let's pause here. What did we uncover? We already uncovered some of our characters. I noticed that we start to see a problem here. Let's look at some of Stella's actions and see if they can help us decipher the problem. We know that Stella keeps weaving a bigger and bigger web. First, she weaves one that spreads across the whole window. Then she does it where it spreads all the way from the window to the floor. That is a huge web that she is spinning. We then know that this causes her mother to have a reaction. And this reaction might be a bit of a problem. She says there's not enough room for you and Stella in here. So if I had to think about that, that must mean that her mom is saying that Stella can no longer be in the room with her. This is a big problem. I am going to drag my mouse and add my comment. P for problem. What I would like you to do here is pause your video and add, after writing P for problem, why this is a problem. Why might it be a problem that her mom is saying there's not enough room for you and Stella in here? Pause now. All right, now that we have written about our problem and why it is a problem, let's go ahead and see if we can use these character actions to help us find out the solution and lesson learned in our story. Keisha's father said the same thing. Stella needed more space. There wasn't enough space in Keisha's room for Stella. The web would keep getting bigger. There wasn't enough room in the house for Stella. Keisha loved Stella. She wanted her to stay, but she wondered what would happen if she stayed. Would the web cover her bed? Would she be able to get into her room? What if the web covered the whole house? Stella needed to live inside. Stella needed to live outside. Outside was where she belonged, where she could build a web as high as the tallest tree, a web wider than Keisha's house. Keisha opened the window. This ripped a hole down the center of Stella's web. Stella crawled to the windowsill and looked out. Keisha thought she looked back at her to say goodbye. Maybe she wanted to say, "Thanks for all the flies." Then she dropped down into the bushes under the window. When Keisha ran to the window to look out, the spider was already gone. "Goodbye, Stella," Keisha said. She knew that Stella would find a new home. When she did, she would build the biggest web ever. Maybe the biggest web in the world. The end. Wow, I really enjoyed that story about Stella and Keisha. So the last thing that we're going to do is you are going to use the actions of Keisha and Stella to identify the solution of the story, and then also think about your lesson learned. Now, I encourage you to add your comment to wherever you see the solution and put an S for solution. Then make sure you go today and you fill in your thinking job chart. You will have to find the motivation, the solution, and the lesson learned. We've already found the characters and problems together, so all you have to do is write them down here and look at your notes to help you. I hope that you enjoyed today's story and today's Read Aloud lesson. I hope that you guys also have a fabulous Monday. All right, bye-bye.